yesterday, Boris Johnson at 8 p.m. gave us a very brief address saying actually a lockdown is going to happen. Now, this is after he said that the schools are absolutely no danger, and because we were already in tier 4. So essentially...
That's the main point I took away from this, that essentially nothing's really changed except schools are closed.
Yeah, except schools are closed. But this is a real problem because, I mean, A, it's bad for children. It's damaging their education. It's putting extra pressure on the households. I mean, there's all sorts of spikes in domestic violence and child abuse and all this sort of stuff because people are just trapped at home all day. And apparently that increases the chances. But
there's the thing, like innumerable costs for what benefit and minimal reduce in spread. But you've seen the graph; it's vertical.
Exactly.
This isn't going to touch it. So in which case,
exactly,
why we do it?
Tier 4 didn't do it. I mean, but anyway, Boris himself had previously, again, a few days ago, in fact, in response, Keir Starmer had come out and said Boris must lock down, and used the word "must" as if there is simply no other option. Keir Starmer is the moral legislator who gets to dictate Boris Johnson's policy. And Boris said, no, that's ridiculous. Children are literally no risk at school. The dangers of going to school are very, very minimal, and the benefits of education are very, very great, which are, again, his exact words. And then yesterday he was like, actually, we've got to lock down, chaps. It's like, from Keir Starmer's lips to Boris's ears. That's how this entire thing works. But anyway, yeah, so as the BBC have reported, everyone in England has to stay home except for permitted reasons. We are essential workers because we're media, and broadcast media are essential apparently, so that's fortunate for us. But everyone else at the moment in England is going to be trapped at home, but not just England, in Scotland as well, presumably Wales too.
Well, except for essential purposes, so work if you can't work at home or to get food.
Yes, so and you can have an hour's worth of exercise again, just like the first lockdown. Yeah, exactly. God, get in. And there will be various priority groups that will be offered the vaccine in the next few weeks, which is fine, I guess. That like the vaccination process, I think that obviously you would offer the vaccines to the elderly and anyone who has underlying conditions, because the rest of the population are just not really very much at risk from COVID, especially not children, which is exactly what Boris said, and yet we're still locking down. But anyway, he said that we're entering what he believes to be the last phase of the struggle. And hospitals are under more pressure from COVID than ever, than any time since the start of the pandemic. Sorry, not since ever. And then he said, stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives. Like, I'm really over it at the moment. But anyway, so yeah, the Scots are also in lockdown, so good news for Scotland. And of course, we have a lockdown hypocrite in one SNP MP. What's her first name? Margaret Ferrier, who was accused of making a return train journey between London and Glasgow back in September while infected with COVID. She was also accused of visiting a gym, a beauty salon, and a gift shop in Lanarkshire while awaiting the results. I think that's where Dank lives, isn't it? So Lanarkshire?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it does. The MP was suspended by the SNP at the time and was faced calls from colleagues to resign. But she publicly apologised and said that the virus made her, quote, act out of character. Oh, really? Oh, really? So if I get the coronavirus and I do something wrong, can I just be like, well, the coronavirus made me do it? You know,
it's like the devil.
Yeah, the coronavirus made me take this heroin or something. I knew you'd laugh. Ooh, shots fired. Anyway, the point is, the coronavirus is no excuse for your own behaviour. You are again, speaking back to the Marcus Aurelius book club, and this is why you should sign up. You are the author of your own behaviour, and you are the one responsible for it. Take that responsibility. But she didn't resign from being an MP, even though she was suspended from the SNP. But she was arrested by the Scottish police, and a police spokesperson said, "We can confirm that officers today arrested and charged a 6-year-old woman in connection with alleged culpable and reckless conduct." So not only has she been arrested, they've also named her age, which is something you shouldn't do to a lady. Come on, Police Scotland. That's rather inappropriate. But yeah, anyway, so as was reported by Sky, and this is one of the things that annoys me, is as soon as Boris Johnson's behaviour and policy falls into alignment with somewhere like Sky News, which is a very left-wing Corbyn supporting sort of place normally, or Keir Starmer supporting place really, suddenly they're like, oh, Boris, he's a very sympathetic character, he's doing his best, you know, it's all charity, it's all kindness, we actually do like Boris really. It's like, you can see how the sort of the institutions around him are kind of, you know, carrot and sticking him into doing what they want. But, I mean, Boris had said, you know, schools act as vectors of transmission now, despite not being dangerous themselves. It's like, okay, But, I mean, who's allowing their children to go and see their grandparents? Who's allowing that, right? Because aren't the elderly are meant to be isolated in the tiers that we're in anyway? I don't know. But anyway, the justification given for this is the spike in coronavirus cases, which from the coronavirus government data, I'm not sure actually reflects it yet, because Boris was giving us data that we didn't actually. Oh no, it is up to right. So when I wrote this, it wasn't updated, but apparently 58,784 people tested positive for coronavirus yesterday, which gives us a higher amount than previously from 53,000. The death rate is not particularly staggering though. Yesterday was 405 deaths. At the highest peak of the pandemic, it was 1,000 deaths a day. So it's not good, obviously, but it's not
Should mention
worst.
Deaths are typically 2 weeks behind, so we'll be looking at 2 weeks from now. But
yeah, it could.
You are correct that at peak it was 1,000.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be back there, but...
But as you can see, can we see the death rates here? Yeah, the death rates have been fairly stable for the past 2 months, and they didn't change at all during the November lockdown. So the evidence that lockdowns actually have an effect on the death rate from the coronavirus seems to be kind of absent.
We're in tier 4, and it's the graph's like that.
Yeah.
You think closing schools is going to do that, is it?
Yeah, I mean,
no, of course not.
Well, I mean, look, in the November lockdown, as you can see from the graph, we had a complete total lockdown like we're in now, and no change to the deaths at all, really. So I don't know what the rationale for the policy of more lockdowns is, other than Keir Starmer is hectoring me on Twitter, and Sky News will say nice things about me. So let's carry on, I guess. But anyway, the reason this is important, and the reason this is actually risky for us to talk about, I don't think we're saying anything that's counter to the data, that anything that is immoral or hateful or misinformation or anything like that.
We are presenting the government's position. That's
all
we're doing right now.
We are presenting the government's position, but the thing is, this is still dangerous for us to talk about. Why? We if we had good sense, we wouldn't go into this murky water at all. Because this morning I woke up to find that Talk Radio.
Yeah, the tweets like this: Andrew Doyle saying, "Looks like Talk Radio's YouTube channel has just been deleted. Anyone have any more information?"
Yeah,
and it was a bit murky. And then we got some reports from Helen Dale saying that yeah, it has been. If you can get the next one.
Just their entire YouTube channel, presumably. I mean, we're not aware of any strikes or any way that they'd crossed the line from YouTube. But hang on, so the 250,000 subscriber channel just gone like that. Obviously, no explanation from YouTube. But what's more weird about this is that Talk Radio is Ofcom regulated UK radio broadcaster. So everything that they broadcast is perfectly safe for children to hear. It's not. They don't have like a post-watershed thing or anything like that. It's public radio. If they're not safe, then none of us are safe. Mainstream, yeah. I mean, they have politicians on there all the time. So, they have mainstream political commentators on there all the time. So if they can just go like that, then nobody is safe. But anyway, what did you want to say there?
So the way this almost certainly happened is through the strike system. So you get 3 strikes on a YouTube channel and your child channel just goes. So that's presumably what's happened here. And they like to upload little clips of guests they have on, so people on, and their presenters giving a position. So almost certainly they uploaded, I don't know, 5 yesterday or over a time period of a month. They've gotten 3 videos taken down. So today will be the last one, and then they're just gone.
Could be. It could be. We actually don't know.
But that is the most likely situation, is all I wanted to say.
That is certainly one way. I mean, it is likely.
Unless a YouTube moderator said this is some kind of hateful channel, therefore it all has to go. But...
Well, it depends what they've been saying, because as Guido Fawkes reported, they have been extremely critical of the lockdown strategy. And we don't know. I don't actually watch a lot of Talk Radio because I don't watch a lot of anything anymore.
They're not very extreme. They don't have a position that, this is a big nothing burger or anything. They're just taking the position which I think we largely take, which is is this proportionate? Asking, is this actually the right thing to do?
That's what makes it even more concerning.
Yeah, so the wording here they have from YouTube's guidelines, the specific one we think is most likely what they stepped over, is content that disputes the efficacy of local health authorities or WHO guidance on physical distancing or self-isolation measures to reduce transmission of COVID-19. So they would have been critical of lockdowns. Lockdowns are local health advice. Therefore, that might be a breach of the rules. If you're a YouTube moderator reading that, maybe that's what you get. But the obvious absurdity here is the or local health authorities or WHO, because WHO says lockdowns we shouldn't do, whereas our local health authority, the British government, is saying we must.
Yeah, and if you disagree with one of these, it doesn't matter which one, you can get deplatformed.
So if you have a position in favour or against lockdowns, you're currently breaking the rules.
Exactly.
If this stands, which is...
So what you the only solution left open to us there means we have to refuse to assent to the question of should we have a lockdown or is a lockdown a good thing. We have to say we can't even consider the question.
Absolute silence is only what is permitted on YouTube. If this is correct.
Hashtag broadcast yourself.
The only other possible alternative we could think of was they have callers on from the general public, and there was one video we saw where a guy, we didn't actually get to hear his opinion because they just cut him off, but they were saying that he was a denier of it existing. Therefore, we were trying to figure out maybe it's because they've had multiple callers who are deniers, and as YouTube's rules are written, if you platform someone, even if you disagree with them, if you just platform them, that is you endorsing their position.
Yeah.
Because this is SJW logic.
Yeah, and this happened to us on our other channel, the Lotus Eaters, where I had done a video just saying, well, there are a couple of doctors in Germany who are actually saying something about the subject of the vaccine, and here's their opinion, and YouTube whacked us for that. They wouldn't. It didn't matter that I wasn't endorsing or denying it because I don't know anything about the subject. I was just saying that they had said it. But did you want to read out Helen Dale's statement on the thing?
I'd rather you do it, actually,
because
you read it.
Okay. So Helen Dale, thankfully, she's a legal commentator on a commentator on the law. Sorry, on Talk Radio, and a contributor to LotusEast.com. We're going to have an article from her. We already have one, but we're going to have another one about this up very soon. And she's going to be extracting the legal conundrum that is at the heart of this. But anyway, she gives us a statement in which she touches on it. She says, I have a regular weekly spot on Talk Radio where I appear on Thursday mornings at 11 o'clock for a 20 to 30 minute chat with Mike Graham. I mainly do book reviews and legal commentary based on articles published in a variety of outlets, including The Spectator, The Standpoint, The Telegraph, Critic, and The Australian. And LotusEast.com, hello. As should be reasonably obvious from the list, I'm a fairly typical conservative/classical liberal. I'm a member of the Conservative Party. As you are no doubt aware, YouTube has deleted Talk Radio's entire YouTube channel. This raises serious legal issues on both sides of the pond. YouTube is purporting to do Ofcom's job. Ofcom is, for all its faults, accountable to Parliament. Ofcom regulates Talk Radio and all of the UK broadcasters, including BBC, LBC and ITV. Ofcom has the power to sanction Talk Radio and everyone else if broadcasting guidelines are breached. UK broadcasters can also be sued for defamation and IP breaches. Everyone laughed when it was wingnuts like Alex Jones being banned. Now we're seeing it done to perfectly boring, Ofcom regulated UK Talk Radio. Who's next? LBC? They're a bit edgy. If YouTube, I can't believe, Helen, don't do my boy Alex like that. Dirty. It's just mean. Just joking. If YouTube has an editorial policy that should be treated as a publisher in law, at the moment it is not, while the BBC, Times, LBC, Specky, Groniad, and yes, Talk Radio all are. This would kill social media, but not the wider internet, stone dead. If YouTube and other social media outlets are treated like publishers, they will be made liable for user-generated content, which includes defamation, libel, slander, and intellectual property breaches. They will also be regulated by Ofcom and the EU/US equivalents. Conservatives who think repealing Section 230 will give them more freedom of speech are delusional. YouTube will simply become another media company like CNN or ITV. But YouTube is clearly a publisher, and it should be treated as one. The economic advantage it enjoys over its competitors thanks to protection from lawsuits in this way needs to come to an end. And Talk Radio statement is, we are Ofcom regulated and await a statement by Google. So they just have nothing.
That's abbreviated, but essentially, yes, what they said.
Yeah, and so Helen Dale's not wrong, I think, about Section 230, which is what gives social media publishers immunity from these lawsuits and make the people who publish to the platforms, and the distinction between publisher and platform is very important. The people who are the ones who publish the material to the platform liable for any illegal material, and the platform itself, therefore, should not have an editorial policy on the content of the material beyond legal requirements. So the fact that YouTube clearly has editorial policies at this point, and to be honest with you, when we're broadcasting on YouTube, we feel like we're under the sword of Damocles. You know, we feel like there is a kind of malevolent will that is targeting us with all of this, and that is clearly the fact that they have a publishing bias. And so it's not that Section 230 is a bad thing or wrong in and of itself. It's that YouTube are not acting within the bounds of Section 230. And so I don't understand why conservatives in America can't just say to YouTube, okay, you no longer count as a platform. You are now a publisher until you make changes and restore these people because of the deplatforming, because of their political views, and remove your terms of service where it suggests the parts of your terms of service where it outlines your editorial policy, then we will not treat you as a platform. We will treat you as a publisher. Prepare for the lawsuits. And this means that, A, we don't need to abolish Section 230, because they are right, it is a good idea, it's just not being enforced correctly. And this would hopefully mean that the people who have been banned unjustly for giving their opinions that YouTube didn't like can be restored, and everyone can go back to normal like things were.
Yeah, I mean, the immediate thing that came to mind, and for Americans who may not even know what talk radio is, I think it's probably the second biggest radio station in
I think
the UK.
they can get it, though.
But it would be the equivalent of YouTube taking down Fox News' YouTube channel because they say they've broken the terms of service or something. There is serious concern here because, as we'll get into later, they had government ministers on all the time, and they've had one on to talk about this. So just to give some context about Ofcom, so she mentioned that Ofcom are meant to be doing this, and instead YouTube's mission creep in their terms of service has got to the point where they're doing what our online regulators do. Ofcom, as she said, with all its faults, is a bit of a weird organization. So in the paragraph here about describing themselves, they're talking about what they do, and they say Ofcom has extensive experience in tackling online harmful content and also supporting freedom of expression. It's just like, yeah, weird doublethink. But they're now in charge of the internet because of the online harms bill that's coming through, and this is a huge problem for BitChute and all the rest of it. But that's a story.
But the point is that if Ofcom start going off the rails and start censoring people left, right, and centre, we at least have some method of holding Ofcom to account, which is going to the government and saying, Parliament, do something about this, and then parliamentarians can then take action against Ofcom. There is
your guidance in this part, for example, is wrong. Get rid of it. It's politically biased. You cannot do that to YouTube.
Exactly. There's absolutely no accountability for YouTube. And power without accountability is tyranny. And this is why people like myself or ourselves and in the general online space have been trying to raise awareness of this. And as Helen Dale said, you didn't care when it was Alex Jones. You were just like, well, I don't care about Alex Jones. But the thing continues to contract. And now it's got, I don't even know if I'd describe talk radio as conservative.
No.
I just describe them as just centrist.
Like mainstream centrist organizations.
Yeah.
If that's where we're at now, how long do you want to wait?
Yeah.
Really? You want to wait longer?
Yeah. Yeah, who has to go next? But anyway, should we give Michael Gove's response? Michael Gove's a cabinet member of the government, cabinet office minister. So again, this he's on talk radio.
Central government.
Yeah, elected central part of Boris's cabinet, like one of the most important people in the country, if we're talking in political terms. Here he is on talk radio giving his opinion of the lockdown, and this may well have been. I don't know what got them yeeted, but let's have a hear what he has to say.
Do you think people in a free democratic country should be allowed to debate government policy, should be allowed to question whether or not there should be lockdowns, whether that response is proportionate, and discuss the relative threats of different viruses? Do you think we should be allowed a free and full debate on that without censorship by, say, for instance, big tech?
Yes.
Are you confident that that's happening right now?
I hope so.
And do you think that any action should be taken by the government if it isn't happening, or if there is censorship?
I don't believe in censorship, and we have a free and fair press, and we have commentators and interviewers of distinction who do criticise the government's position, from Lord Sumption, the former Supreme Court judge, to Peter Hitchens, the distinguished Mail on Sunday columnist, and others. And long may it remain so. And I respectfully disagree with them, but I think it's important that their voices are heard, and that debate takes place.
Do you think it's dangerous or that people have blood on their hands if they ask questions?
No, I think it's absolutely right that people should ask questions.
Good to know. We should pass that information on.
So yeah, they don't actually allude to it directly.
But just to be clear, Michael Gove, surprisingly on point on that regard. He was absolutely right. They're every single word I endorse, and that's exactly the kind of attitude I want to hear coming out of the Conservatives. Like, you know, the idea that there should be some intermediary between your opinion of a government policy and putting that out to the world is awful, in my opinion. And it's good to hear Gove saying essentially the same thing.
I am a bit irritated that they didn't reference it directly. She didn't say, what do you think of us being banned from YouTube?
Yes.
Because it would have been nice to hear him say, right, that's not on, or something like that.
It would.
Rather than, I think censorship is bad. Well, we all think censorship is bad. What are you going to do?
Well, no, we don't all think censorship is
Okay, well.
bad. That's true. That's the point, right? And
the liberals of the world think censorship is bad. But
They do,
What
yes.
are you going to do about it? That's
But the point is, at least Gove is on exactly the right side here, and we have him on record saying this. Yeah. So there is that. But on the other side of the issue are Talk Radio's competitors, who are very happy with this deplatforming, incidentally. Do you want to? You're the one who found this. So.
Yeah, so this is a tech correspondent for LBC. So he's not, an LBC spokesman, but he works in LBC. So I'm gonna.
LBC being Britain's largest talk radio broadcaster.
Direct competitor to Talk Radio is LBC.
Yeah.
And his response was, they've broken the terms and conditions which they've signed up to. This isn't a free speech argument at all.
It's a private company.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Will.
LBC
Thanks, Will.
being the left-wing version, I would say,
Yes,
or at least more leftist. They banned Katie Hopkins and Nigel Farage as being hosts.
Yeah, absolutely. So. They purged anything that would be considered sort of right-wing.
Yeah, then they hired David Lammy, and it's like...
Yeah. And they've got James O'Brien, who's an insufferable bore. Left-wing bore, and it's very politically correct.
Like, I wouldn't even be bothered about those two being on if they kept Nigel Farage and whatnot, but
absolutely.
they didn't. They purged the right-wingers and hired left-wingers. It's like, okay, thanks for telling us.
Mask off.
Yeah. So this would be the equivalent, I don't know, let's say Fox News Channel got bad, and then CNN is just like, they're a private company, there's no problem here, guys. Everything's fine. It's like, yeah, of course you'd say that.
Yeah.
So it's blatant political bias. But Julia Hartley-Brewer responded to this, and she just doubles down, which I kind of love. She's just like, remember the lockdown rules? And I don't even know if we can read this or not, but...
I don't think we should.
No, but her opinion is that, I don't even care. Like, just going to keep saying it.
No, good for her.
Which is good to her. But it's not... She's... Talk Radio is not the first person in the mainstream to actually get hit with this. It's sort of mainstream, but there's Anna Breeze. She does on-the-ground reporting, if we can get that one up. She's ex-BBC and ITV reporter, and she just went to a protest about this issue, filmed the protest, put it on YouTube, got a strike for filming a protest. It's like, okay, well, if that can happen to someone ex-BBC, ITV... I think this one got striked as well, actually, like she mentioned.
And then her entire YouTube channel got took down.
I believe so. But
no, it did. She on Christmas Day, YouTube took her channel away.
Someone working hard on Christmas.
That's right.
So, if that can happen, why can't it happen to LBC? If it can happen to if it can happen to Talk Radio, why shouldn't it happen to, I want to know.
It could happen to anyone.
Yeah, well, why has Fox News got a YouTube channel then? Riddle me this.
It'll last until the rest of us have been deplatformed, and then they'll be gone.
Yeah. So I also wanted to play the fact that the response will be interesting, because it's cool to see Michael Gove say this is bad, but what will he do about it? Because this is not the first time YouTube has acted in this blatantly partisan manner. I've got a video to play, which is a debate in Parliament. They called up, I think this was a representative from YouTube International, so he's YouTube in California, and they brought him all the way to the UK and then berated him about a man who we cannot name having a YouTube channel. And they demanded that he be taken down, and he was as a result of this meeting. So if we can play,
well, before we do, he wasn't actually taken down. His channel was indefinitely quarantined, so you can't find it in the search. You can't. You couldn't even share links or something either.
I don't even know if you can call it shadow ban, because it's
more sinister than that, because in a shadow ban you can at least find the channel eventually. It just doesn't come up in your feed.
Yeah.
But with this, you can't find the channel for searching on YouTube.
Search name won't come up.
Just doesn't come up.
This is what the Labour Party did to this person.
YouTube continues to promote them videos.
They should not be appearing in our recommendation engine. If they are, I will take this back to our team and see what the problem is.
Okay, but they are. I mean, they are appearing. They are in my recommended timeline at the moment. The first two videos recommended to me by YouTube, when I just click on, as I've just done this afternoon, I click onto YouTube, the first two recommendations videos.
Oh my god, she sounds so outraged.
But I love it's in her recommended. Yeah, love, that means you've been watching it and YouTube thinks you watch a lot of it, so they're recommending more.
But even if that's not the case, so what?
Yeah.
You know, so what? How dare you think you've got the authority to just be like, bad person?
Yeah, the
gulag.
accusation was not this person's broken the rules. The accusation was not this person's broken the law. It was just, I don't like this guy, YouTube, get rid of him.
Yeah.
And they did. They quarantined it. And so will Michael Gove do the same thing? Will he call in YouTube UK or International and berate them and be like, what on earth do you think you're doing? You need to change this.
Should follow the example of the Polish.
The Polish are, what are they, suing them or
Yeah,
charging?
they're. I don't think it's been passed as law yet, but I think they've introduced a bill to prevent online censorship of Polish people. If YouTube just censor a Polish channel or any social media account, censors a Polish person, they can be fined like millions of euros, and good, you know. And I hope that millions of euros just get given straight to the person who was censored. You know, I really hope that the Polish are going to, you know, put a real sort of stop to this sort of nonsense. And Michael Gove needs to think about doing something similar.